In this video, we are trying to understand the concept of PMF, PDF and CDF for a random variable which is neither discrete nor continuous. To begin with, let us say we are experimenting and the experiment is designed in such a way that I will toss a fair coin. If head appears, I will take a stick of unit length and I will break the stick. If tail appears, I will do nothing. So I need to define a random variable for this particular experiment. So a random variable that I am interested in is x, which is the length of the stick. I am interested in the length of the stick after the experiment is being conducted. Okay. So now as we are dealing with coin tossing experiment, head and tail are the outcomes. And given that the coin is a fair coin, I know they occur with probability half. So first I will map the outcome head to the event to the number 0, right, because I want to define a random variable, and I will map the outcome tail to the number 1. Why am I doing this? Because when the tail occurs, I am doing nothing. That means the stick will have unit length, correct? So because the stick will have unit length, it will happen with probability half, because I know the probability of happening head coming is half and probability of tail coming is half. Now when head occurs, which happens with probability half, so my sample space shows up this particular thing, then I will take a stick and break it, right, and the stick has a unit length, therefore I can break it at any point. So I will consider a distribution which is uniform 0 1 distribution over the interval, correct. So now my uniform PDF that we have seen is this 1 upon b minus a. If a uniform AB is the case, then the PDF is actually 1, okay, and if tail occurs, then it occurs with half. So at point 1 this has a probability half. Now if you look at this random variable, which is length of the stick after this experiment, can you tell this whether this random variable is discrete or continuous? Remember in our discussion in our last video that if I want to tell the random variable whether it is discrete or continuous, at any given if the random variable is continuous at any given point in the sample space or on the real line, it will have probability 0, right. So for example, if x is continuous, we have already proved that probability of x is equal to x is 0. But what is probability of x is equal to 1? It is at least half, it is greater than or equal to half. Based on our discussion, it is greater than or equal to half, because if tail occurs, I will get a stick back, that is with probability half. Okay. So it will not, this particular random variable will not come under the category of continuous random variables for sure. Is the random variable discrete? Then if the random variable is discrete, then it should take at most countable number of values. What are the values this random variable is taking? It is taking values in the interval 0 to 1, which is not countable. Interval is uncountable, therefore this random variable is neither discrete nor continuous. But individually, if I look at the outcomes, I can say that some outcomes are discrete and some outcomes are continuous. In particular, one outcome is discrete and others are continuous. So such random variables are called mixed random variables. They may occur in practice, but studying such random variables requires lot of intuition. Let us try to map the concepts of PDF and PMF. So in this case, you cannot have PMF or PDF uniquely, but what you can have is a cumulative distribution function. So let us try to understand how a cumulative distribution function will look like. For example, if you toss a coin and you get a head, then you will take the stick and break it somewhere, right? So when you break it somewhere, it can take any value between 0 to 1 and it has a uniform probability. So if you remember our yesterday's discussion, that fxx will be equal to x for x belonging to 0 to 1. It will be 0 for x is equal to 0. Now here is a problem. Fxx is equal to x for uniform distribution, but my x, the random variable x, is not a uniform random variable. It's actually a mixture of two kind of distribution. At this point, up to less than 1, it will take value x, but the probability mass associated with this, because head will come only half of the times, right? So it cannot go to 1, it will go to x by 2. Okay, and what happens to the other part? When you toss a coin, tail comes, at that point you will go to 1 with probability half. Therefore it is equal to half when x is equal to 1. Here I should write x is less than or equal to 0, and then, sorry, it's not half, I am extremely sorry, I am talking about the CDF. So this will have a jump of size half, and therefore I will get this to be equal to 1, and then it will be 1 all the way around. So I can say x greater than or equal to 1, it will be 1, and this will be the graph of a CDF. So what happens in this, let us go to the experiment and understand the problem. If head occurs, I will take a stick and I will break at some point, right? So this has a uniform probability distribution, but head will occur with probability half. So let us say x1 is uniform distribution on 0 1, right? It doesn't matter whether I consider endpoints or not. Then f x1 of x according to our notation is 0, then x and 1. For x less than or equal to 0, it is 0. For x between x and 1, it is 1, and for x greater than or equal to 1 is 1. So if x1 is uniform, then this is the probability, this is the cumulative distribution function. In this case it is not uniform, but partially when head occurs it behaves as if a uniform. So you can put this as conditional probability, that conditional on head it is uniform. So in this case this will have a probability half, and therefore this x will be multiplied with x by 2. And this is how the CDF of this particular distribution will be given, random variable will be given. And as you can notice, it is continuous over here because it's a straight line, and over here it is actually jumping, so it is neither discrete nor continuous. This is what is called mixed random variables. We will not ask any question on mixed random variable in the exam, but you should know for your reference these kind of random variables also occur in nature. Let us go to the next topic in this module, that is normal random variable. It's a very popular random variable, and it is a special random variable which arises when you consider sum of independent identically distributed random variables which are very small. But for our case purposes, let us try to see this as one distribution and try to see whether this fxx given here actually forms a density or not. So in order to check whether this forms a density or not, you just integrate this from minus infinity to infinity. So in this case I have entire range specified, minus infinity less than x less than infinity, or x belonging to the real line. In this case there is no 0 otherwise, because the distribution is defined on entire real line. So the distribution, let us think about this distribution and talk about the terms which are expectation and variance of this random variable. First, you verify this is a valid density. Did you come across such a function anywhere? It is, if you have studied physics, it will come as a Gaussian noise. So this e raised to minus x square by 2 will come as a noise factor. So it has a very interesting motivation when you consider a sum of independent identically distributed random variables having some fixed mean and some fixed variance. Then if you scale that sum by shifting the mean of all of them to 0 and you scale their variance by dividing by their respective variance of the sum, then what you get is this particular density, and that you will study in some time. After a few classes you may study that result, which is popular result known as central limit theorem. Right now for us what is important is this should satisfy the properties of density. What are the properties of density? First property is fxx should always be greater than or equal to 0. Is it the case? The function e raised to x is never going to be negative. So is e raised to minus x square by 2. So it's never going to be negative. So fx is greater than or equal to 0. Then next property is integral minus infinity to infinity e raised to minus x square by 2 dx. Okay, so with the era of computer science or data science, it is very easy to check this integral. Use some software like MATLAB or Mathematica or any other software which evaluates the integrals. You will get a factor of root 2 pi if you integrate this. So I am dividing by a factor of root 2 pi and therefore this will be equal to 1. So this is an exercise for you. You check in any of the softwares, or if you know good calculus, you can actually solve this problem by using techniques in calculus. Okay, so now this particular thing verifies that fxx is a valid density. What is a mean of this particular density or random variable, or what is the expected value? It turns out that you can again use the software and you can simply treat this as x e raised to minus x square by 2. You will see that these two parts symmetrically divide each other, minus infinity to 0 and 0 to infinity, and therefore both of them will cancel with each other, giving you the integral to be equal to 0. And in order to compute variance, because integral is 0, you just need to compute this x square, which cannot be 0 obviously because it's x square and all terms are positive, and it will turn out that the variance of this particular random variable is equal to 1. I don't have to subtract expected value of x because it is anyway 0. Okay, so these are the properties of this particular density which is given to you, and it is known as normal random variable because it has mean 0 and variance 1. It has a special name called standard normal random variable, standard normal, and the distribution which you are seeing here is called standard normal distribution. So I have standard normal distribution. So the next question that will come to your mind is, what is then a non-standard normal random variable, right? To answer that, I have written this density, and I bet you can derive this density using the standard normal distribution. For example, let us look at this term. This term, you just simply replace this by some z. Okay, then the corresponding term over here also becomes z something, and then some scaling you need to do, and you can get this exact term over here. Okay, so let us not get into this we will see when we will see the derived distribution. Right now what is important to us is what is the mean and variance of this random variable. Now if you look at this, and if I say this is z, then what you are seeing here is x as okay, both are I have written both as x. Okay, let us not worry about this. Let us think of this term fxx and ask a question: what will be the mean of this random variable? Look at this integral. Look at this integral. This is derived here. And if you do a similar calculation for this integral by replacing x by x minus mu by sigma, what you will get as the mean of the random variable? That is nothing, you will get the mean of the random variable to be equal to mu and the variance of the random variable to be equal to sigma square. If you are not clear about how this integral works out, you just go to any software which evaluates integral, typically MATLAB, Mathematica, R or Python, whatever software you choose, you solve this problem and you will get the mean and variance to be equal to this. Otherwise it's a lengthy tedious exercise which will not give you any concepts. So we assume that the mean and variance are given by this thing, right? So once this is given, then the next question comes: if x is a random variable which has normal distribution with mean mu and variance sigma square, and I have been given y to be equal to ax plus b, y to be equal to ax plus b, what is expected value of y? Do I know anything? Yes, I know it's a lotus, and furthermore it's a linear function. So I know many things. It's a times expected value of x plus b, variance of y. What is variance of y? You know the constant term doesn't play any role, so the variance of y will be simply a square times variance of x. What is expected value of x? It is mu plus b. And what is expected variance of y? It is a square times sigma square. So I have the answer. But normal distribution is such a beautiful distribution that whenever you have normal, and if you take any linear combination of normal random variables, you will actually get a normal random variable with this mean and variance. See, this fact, whatever I am saying, y is equal to ax plus b, when I compute mean and variance, this remains true for all the distributions. All continuous distributions will have this property. Why continuous? All discrete also will have this property. But what is important is, if you have normal random variable and if you take a linear function of a normal random variable, the resultant also remains normal with appropriate mean and variance. This distribution is a very important distribution, and you should remember this property by heart, because for computing these things we need these properties. Okay, so let us now go and use this property for calculating the probabilities having normal distribution. If you look at the distributional form of normal random variable, which is given here, it is very complicated, and when you try to compute probabilities of sets, it may not give you any closed form expression. That is a drawback of normal distribution. So no closed form is available for CDF. It will be simply an integral, and it had some specific feature in some softwares. It had some specific name, and with that name they call that error term. ERF is the term that they use. Okay, but the interesting fact is, though there is no closed form, people in old ages have developed normal tables which are available only for standard normal random variables. Okay, but the question is giving table for standard normal random variable, can I be able to evaluate, let us say, normal 4 16 probabilities for a random variable having normal with mean 4 and variance 16? That's a valid question, right? We will try to answer that question. So in that case, let us try to understand, if x follows normal mu and sigma square, and if I consider z to be equal to a random variable which is x upon sigma minus mu upon sigma. My x is normal mu and sigma square. So I am considering a new random variable z, which is actually x by sigma minus mu by sigma. What will be a distribution of this normal random variable? Look at this star property, y is equal to ax plus b, right? So what is a here? It is 1 by sigma, and what is b here? It is mu minus mu by sigma. Just use that, then I know the distribution of this property, right? It is going to be normal a mu, so mu as it is, by sigma, mu by sigma minus mu by sigma plus b, so my b is minus mu by sigma plus and the other parameter is a square by sigma square. So what is a here? Let me write to avoid confusion. Here a is 1 by sigma and b is minus mu by sigma, right? So a square, that is 1 by sigma square into sigma square. So what you got here, this is nothing but normal with mean 0 and variance 1. Yes, so I have answered the question. Will the problem be solved if I give you a table for normal distribution? Yes, because give me any random variable x with any mean mu and variance sigma square, I can use this particular transformation to convert it into a standard normal random variable. This is the beauty which is possible only with normal random variables. So we can calculate the probabilities using the table of normal random variable. So right now what I have shown you is, if y follows normal mu sigma square, then y by sigma minus mu by sigma will follow normal 0 1. Based on this result, it suffices to have normal tables only for standard normal random variable. So what does the normal table will look like? Well, let us first try to understand this problem then. X follows normal with mean 4 and variance 25, and I am asked to compute probability of x less than or equal to 16. So you can use the density form. You will not get a closed an integral of that density from minus infinity to 16, 1 over root 2 pi sigma e raised to minus x by x minus mu by sigma the whole square by 2 dx. So this will not solve this problem. Okay, so what will solve this problem is transforming this random variable to a standard normal random variable. So how will I go about the transformation? So this, what I will do is, I will write x less than or equal to 16. What are the steps involved in transformation? I need to subtract the mean. So what is mu here? 4. So I will write x minus 4. So here if I am subtracting 4, on the other side also I will subtract 4. Here I will divide by sigma. Here sigma square is given, which is 25. So I will divide by 5, which is sigma, on both sides. Right? So these two are actually same. But what is more interesting is this particular thing has a form x minus mu by sigma, and therefore this will have a standard normal distribution. Now I can appeal to a so-called table of standard normal random variable and find the answer. So in order to find the answer, let me write this again: x minus 4 by 5 less than or equal to 16 minus 4, 12, 12 by 5, 5 2s are 10, 5 4s are 20. I hope this is correct. So it's 2.4. So I want to find what is the probability that x minus 4 by 5 is less than or equal to 2.4. So here is a table that is available to me. So in this table, it will always be written, let us look at this table. It will always be written, this is a table of a standard normal random variable, and it is helping you to calculate the probabilities of this, where phi t is a standard normal density. So the point that is given here will calculate the probability at the point. So now what is the point that is given to me? It is 2.4. So I need to calculate the probability of 2.4. So let us go here and see where the point 2.4 lies. Let me use some different color. Here is a point 2.4. If it is in 2 decimals, you have to look at this particular row and then come to the table. In this case, this particular row becomes this because it doesn't have any other decimals. So 2.4, this, the probability is 0.9918. So what is the probability of this event? 0.9918. This is how you will see the normal table and verify. Now one note of caution with normal tables. Sometimes the normal tables, some normal tables, generally you will get the normal table of a CDF. Some normal tables will not give you this probability, but they may give you some tail probabilities like this area, and this area will not be covered. So just before computing the probabilities, just check what is this normal table for. Once you check it is for CDF, you can easily compute this. Okay, so now what is the probability? Let us ask one question, that what is the probability that this x, if you are asked, is greater than, now less than or equal to 16. So I can ask a question, what is the probability that x is greater than 16? Once I compute this probability, do I need to do any other calculation? It is simply 1 minus probability of x less than or equal to 16, and therefore it will be 1 minus 0.9918. There is no brainer here. But suppose you are asked to compute a probability of this kind, then you cannot go ahead with this particular table and compute the probability directly, because this is asking for x greater than 16. That means whatever is the shaded region, right? So shaded region, shaded with a color green. So you need to compute this probability and subtract 1 from this. So in particular, you always, whenever you are asked such a question, you always convert it into probability of x for events of the form probability of x less than or equal to 16 and write this. This is a trick that will help you from doing some messy calculations. That's all about normal random variables. This is a very important distribution. You will come across this random variable in more detail when you will study the central limit theorem. For a moment, just practice on computing the probabilities of normal random variables, because they are abundant in nature. In fact, the central limit theorem suggests that a sequence of IID random variables independent of what distribution it comes from, when shifted appropriately and scaled appropriately, will converge to a standard normal distribution. Therefore, this distribution is very important when you are studying probability theory.